Okay. So where do you want to start? You want to talk a little bit about the formation of FRE and kind of the history where it came from, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, the Florida Research Ensemble, it actually goes back to the 1980s originally. And there had been a group, the Institute for European and Comparative Studies, that Jack Zipes and I were co-directors of while Jack Zipes was here. Jack Zipes, a very fine scholar of children's literature, now at the University of Minnesota. And we had a big group organized, bringing lecturers from around the country. And the format was not just to have people come in and do formal talks, but we actually communicated with them in advance. We had a topic, a research project that was underway here. And then we'd meet with these folks when they came in and have roundtable discussions. And a lot of those issues dealt with questions of how to apply the theories of the liberal arts and sciences fields to public issues, political questions, ethical questions. And that group kind of fell of its own weight. It got so big that the meetings, no one could really have a conversation. Everybody would take turns saying something, and then that was it, and the time would be up. So we spun off from that, a number of us, a group that was the Florida Research Ensemble. And that group decided to shift from being a kind of reading group or intellectual discussion group to being itself a group for activities, a group for production projects. And that was the idea. The structure of it was that we would always have a goal, some project that we wanted to perform, and then that would be the motivation for meeting. And the group was Simon Penny, who's now at Carnegie Mellon, was in that group as an electronics artist, and myself, Bill Tilson was in there, and the idea was to start to work with Monumentality. This was our project. And we were working with tourism, and the idea was that the state of Florida, probably the major way in which our salaries as faculty was being paid was by sales taxes of folks coming as tourists to Florida. So we were invited to participate in a Florida landscape exhibition in Polk County. And so we decided to use that as an occasion to not only put work in the exhibit, but also to propose our monumentality idea. And we met with the Regional Economic Planning Council of Polk County. And these were, ordinary folks. These were not academics. They were, Chamber of Commerce people, county commissioners, things like this. And we proposed to them an idea. And the idea was, and the purpose of the idea was to serve as a tourist destination. What would improve the quality of your region? What would make it a good destination for tourists from their side? And from our side, we were trying to invent a new tourism. And the new tourism was to add a dimension to traditional tourism we were calling Solonism. We were calling it Solonism because the basic idea was really from an ancient institution in the classical Greek world called the Theoria. And the Theoria was an institution, a civic institution, really in a time of an oral civilization, or a time when Greece was in a transition from oral to written civilization. And there would be all these rumors that would be circulating in the world of disasters or monsters or stars in the east, gods being born, all these kinds of things. And it was important to the community to find out what was the true story, what actually was going on, because there were all these rumors. So the function of the Theoria was to go to the site, find out what was going on, ask around, get together with the local guides, people that were, knew the area, the local area, gather all the information, and come back to the hometown and report in the public square, or report to the officials and to the community what was going on. And so the idea was that the Theoria was partly tourism. I mean, what the Theoria did, what these Theoria refers to a group of people. What they would do is they would go as a group and tour. They would ask questions, local guides, see the sights. And incidentally, another important feature of the Theoria was one of the things they would do is in the region that they were visiting, they would always visit whatever oracles were local to that region. And they would consult the oracles of that region in relationship to whatever the issue was that they were investigating, for divination purposes, to find out what was going on, what was the situation, what advice would the oracle give. So they're partly tourists, but they're and partly, sacred kind of wisdom mission, but to that extent also theorists. They're considered to be the first theorists because their goal was scientific, if you like. That is, they were really trying to find out what actually is going on, apart from legends, myths, rumor, gossip, what actually is going on. And we want to actually find out the truth of what's going on and then report that back. So there was a theoretical dimension. So the scholars say that the Theoria was originally both tourism and theory. And the theory, the theater, the term for seeing is in that, the root in that word. So Solon was one of the first Theros. He was a part of the Theoria. But Solon, famously one of the great wise people of classical Greece in the 500s or so BC, visited Egypt. And while he was there, he learned from some Egyptian priests that he was consulting as part of his mission they told him about the story of Atlantis that the Greeks had totally forgotten about. They told him that there had been this ancient civilization which had risen to rule the world, and only the Greeks stood in the way of world domination by the Atlanteans. And there had been a huge war. The Atlanteans had invaded, and the Greeks had actually defeated them. And then a while after that, Atlantis, fell into giant sinkhole, or whatever happened to it, sunk to the bottom of the sea and disappeared, was destroyed. And so was, in that cataclysm, so was the original Greece. So we were inspired by this idea of the Theoria to take more seriously tourism. This was our proposal, was we wanted to take seriously Florida tourism. 42 million people a year visit Florida, pay all the sales tax. We thought it would be our responsibility as intellectuals in Florida to improve the quality of tourism. And we want to do this by establishing a kind of monumentality that would both be interesting, be worth visiting, and at the same time would have a kind of meta-tourism level that the tourists who participated in these sites would actually become aware of how important their role was to the formation of the nation in which they lived, or in the formation of a community that they were participating in. And what we had in mind, what the model was, having looked into this a little bit, it turned out that many of the most significant American national icons, and a lot of the, beginning with our prototype was really Mount Rushmore in South Dakota, was typical of any number of things that started as tourist attractions.